Stop buying these 6 chicken soup brands in the UK, 4 are safe. Imagine pouring a warm bowl of chicken soup. You think it's comforting. Safe. T. What if that same bowl contained more salt than a packet of crisps, questionable chicken scraps, or ingredients you were never meant to notice? And here's the shocking part, some of the most popular chicken soup brands sold across UK supermarkets may not be as wholesome as their labels suggest. In fact, food investigators and nutrition experts have raised serious concerns about how some of these soups are made, and what's actually inside them. Hidden additives. Ultra-processed ingredients, and chicken content so low, it barely qualifies as chicken soup. Tonight, we're exposing 6 chicken soup brands you might want to avoid, but not everything is bad news, because among the supermarket shelves, 4 brands actually stand out as safer and healthier choices. So before your next trip to Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, or Morrison's, you may want to watch this first, because what we uncovered about some of these soups might make you look at that comforting bowl very differently. Chicken soup has long been seen as the ultimate comfort food, when you're ill, when you're tired, or when you simply want something warm and simple. For decades, millions of people across the UK have trusted supermarket soups as a quick and healthy meal, but the soup aisle hides a complicated reality. Many modern soups are ultra-processed foods, which means they can contain artificial flavor enhancers, excessive sodium preservatives, modified starches, and surprisingly small amounts of real chicken. And according to nutrition experts, the difference between a good soup and a bad one can be dramatic. Some contain real ingredients and balanced nutrition, others are essentially salted water, thickened with starch and flavored chemically. The troubling part: most shoppers can't easily tell the difference, because packaging is designed to look comforting, traditional, and homemade. Rustic fonts, farm imagery, golden bowls of steaming soup, but behind that image, the truth can be very different. And when researchers began comparing popular chicken soup brands sold in UK supermarkets, some surprising patterns emerged. Extremely high salt levels, chicken percentages so low they raised eyebrows, and ingredient lists that looked more like chemistry experiments than recipes. So today, we're breaking it all down, point one brand at a time. First, the soups that raised the biggest concerns. Then the brands that experts say are actually worth buying. But the first brand on our list shocked testers the most, because it's one of the best-known names in British supermarkets. Point 3. Investigation. The modern soup industry. Before we reveal the brands, we need to understand how supermarket soup really works. Traditional chicken soup is simple: chicken, vegetables, stock, seasoning, slow-cooked. But mass-produced soup works very differently. Large factories produce thousands of liters at once. To make soups cheap, consistent, and long-lasting, manufacturers often rely on flavor enhancers, thickening agents, stabilizers, preservatives, powdered stocks. These ingredients aren't always dangerous, but they can dramatically change the nutritional quality of the soup. And one of the biggest concerns? Salt. Many canned soups contain huge sodium levels to boost flavor. In some cases, a single tin can provide half of your recommended daily salt intake. That's why public health experts often warn people to check labels carefully. But salt isn't the only issue. Another surprising discovery was chicken content. Some soups marketed as chicken soup contain less than 5 actual chicken. The rest? Water, starch, flavorings, and vegetables. Which means the comforting image of a rich chicken broth can sometimes be more marketing than reality. But which brands are the worst offenders? Let's start revealing them. And the first one might surprise you. 4. Brand reveal. Number 1. Heinz Chicken Soup. One of the most recognizable names in British food is Heinz. For generations, it's been associated with comfort and tradition. But when nutrition analysts examined Heinz Chicken Soup, several concerns appeared. First, salt content. A single tin can contain a significant portion of your daily sodium limit. Second, chicken percentage. Despite the name, the actual chicken content is relatively low compared with homemade soup. And third, ultra-processed ingredients. Modified starches, flavor enhancers, stabilizers. None of these are unusual in processed foods. But for a product marketed as simple comfort food, it raises questions. Is it dangerous? Not necessarily. but many nutritionists say it's far from the healthiest soup option available. And that's why some experts recommend limiting how often you eat it. But Heinz isn't the only brand raising eyebrows. Because the next soup on our list sparked criticism for a completely different reason. And once you see the ingredient label, you might understand why. 5. Brand reveal number 2, Baxter's Creamy Chicken Soup. Baxter's has long been marketed as a more premium, traditional soup brand. Scottish heritage. Family recipes. Quality ingredients. But not all varieties are equal. When nutrition experts examined Baxter's Creamy Chicken Soup, they found something concerning. The soup relies heavily on cream and thickening agents, which significantly increases fat levels, calorie density and sodium content in moderation. That's not necessarily harmful. But compared with lighter broths or vegetable-based soups, it can quickly become a surprisingly heavy meal. And some dietitians warn that creamy soups like this can feel healthy, while actually containing hidden calories and salt. But the biggest surprise in our investigation was still to come. Because the third brand on this list is widely sold in discount supermarkets. And its ingredient profile raised even more questions. 6. Brand reveal number 3, ASDA Just Essentials Chicken Soup. Budget supermarket soups are incredibly popular. They are cheap, convenient, and widely available. But cheaper prices often mean simpler formulations. And in the case of ASDA Just Essentials Chicken Soup, analysts noticed something striking. Extremely low chicken content. Most of the flavor comes from stock powders and flavorings rather than actual meat. Again, this isn't illegal. But it highlights the difference between real broth and processed soup. The result is often thinner texture, heavier reliance on salt, less nutritional value for shoppers trying to eat healthier. It's a reminder that price sometimes reflects ingredient quality. But not all soups are disappointing. In fact, the next section reveals 4 brands that nutrition experts say are significantly better choices. And one of them might already be sitting in your kitchen cupboard. 7. Brand reveal number 4, Campbell's Condensed Chicken Soup. For decades, Campbell's has been one of the most recognizable soup brands in the world. Its iconic red and white tins became famous across the UK and beyond. But when analysts looked closely at Campbell's Condensed Chicken Soup, something interesting appeared. Unlike regular soups, this product is condensed, meaning it must be diluted with water before eating. On the surface, that seems harmless. But condensed soups often rely heavily on salt and flavor concentrates to maintain taste after dilution. The result? A product that can still contain very high sodium levels, even when mixed with water. Nutrition experts also point out another issue. Condensed soups tend to use thickening agents and powdered stock bases rather than slow-cooked broth. That creates a flavor that feels rich, but isn't necessarily coming from real ingredients. And once again, the actual chicken content is surprisingly modest. For many shoppers, this revelation is surprising. Because the brand has long been associated with traditional homemade comfort food. But as our investigation shows, the reality of mass-produced soup is often more complicated. And the next brand on this list raised concerns. For an entirely different reason. 8. Brand reveal number 5, ALDI Everyday Essentials Chicken Soup. Discount supermarkets have transformed the UK grocery market. Chains like Aldi have built their reputation on low prices and competitive products. But when food analysts examined Aldi Everyday Essentials Chicken Soup, they noticed a familiar pattern. The product is designed to be extremely affordable. And to achieve that price point, manufacturers sometimes reduce expensive ingredients. Which means the soup relies heavily on flavoring, starches, salt, vegetable bases with relatively limited chicken content. Again, none of this breaks food safety rules. But it does raise an important question for shoppers. Are you buying real chicken soup, or simply a chicken-flavored broth substitute? And for people trying to reduce salt intake, budget soups can sometimes be less ideal choices. But surprisingly, the most criticized soup in this investigation wasn't the cheapest. It was a brand that many people assume is healthier. 9. Brand reveal number 6, Cuppa Soup. Chicken instant soups are incredibly convenient. Just add hot water, stir, and drink. But convenience often comes at a cost. When nutrition experts analyzed chicken kappa soup products, they found some concerning characteristics. Because the soup comes as a powdered mix, it relies heavily on flavor enhancers, salt, powdered fat stabilizers. This allows the soup to last months or even years on shelves. But nutritionally, it can be far from ideal. In some varieties, the salt content per serving is extremely high, especially considering the small portion size. And because it's instant soup, the amount of real chicken is minimal. Often less than what you'd find in traditional canned soup. Which means while it might be convenient, it's rarely the healthiest option. But here's the important part. Not all soups are bad. In fact, some brands sold in UK supermarkets perform far better when it comes to ingredients and nutrition. Let's look at the 4 that stand out. 10. The4 safer chicken soup options. After comparing ingredients, salt levels, and chicken content, several brands emerged as better choices for shoppers. These soups generally contain simpler ingredients, lower salt levels, higher real chicken content, fewer artificial additives. Here are 4 options experts often recommend considering. Safe option number 1, Baxter's chicken broth. While some creamy Baxter's soups are heavy, Baxter's chicken broth performs much better nutritionally. It tends to contain clearer broth, visible vegetables, simpler ingredient lists. The broth style also usually contains less fat and fewer calories than creamy soups, making it a more balanced option. Safe option number 2, Heinz Big Soup chicken vegetable. Although standard Heinz chicken soup raised concerns, Heinz Big Soup chicken vegetable is a stronger alternative. Why? Because it contains larger vegetable portions, thicker texture from real ingredients, slightly higher protein levels. It's still processed food. But compared with many basic soups, it can be a more filling and balanced meal. Safe option number 3, New Covent Garden chicken soup. Unlike canned soups, New Covent Garden products are typically found in the refrigerated section. That means they are made with fresher ingredients and fewer preservatives. These soups often contain real chicken pieces, fresh vegetables, shorter ingredient lists. Because they are chilled rather than canned, they are closer to homemade soup. Safe option number 4, M&S chicken soup. Premium supermarket soups often focus on ingredient quality. And Mark Spencer chicken soup usually contains higher chicken percentages, natural stock bases, visible vegetable ingredients. The price may be higher, but many nutrition experts say the ingredient quality tends to justify it. 11. The biggest hidden problem, salt. Throughout this investigation, one issue appeared again and again. Salt. Many canned soups rely on high sodium levels to create strong flavor quickly. But consuming too much salt can increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney strain. And because soup feels light and healthy, people often underestimate how much salt they are consuming. That's why health experts recommend checking the nutrition label carefully. Anything above 0.6 g of salt per 100 g is considered relatively high. And some soups exceed that significantly. 12. How to spot a better soup. So how can shoppers make smarter choices? Nutritionists suggest looking for a few key clues. First, check the ingredient list. Shorter lists usually mean less processing. Second, look for higher chicken percentages. If chicken appears far down the ingredient list, the soup may rely more on flavorings than real meat. Third, check salt levels. Lower sodium soups are generally healthier. And finally, whenever possible, choose soups that